When everything was gone, I finally understood what remained. I was standing in my backyard this morning, watching the sunrise paint the sky in shades of orange and pink, and it hit me like a freight train. I am 78 years old.
Orange and pink, and it hit me like a freight train. I am 78 years old. 78 years. That's a long time to be walking this earth. This house feels different now. The silence isn't just quiet anymore. It's heavy with memories. Over nearly 8 decades, I've watched the world transform in ways I never imagined. But what strikes me most isn't how the world has changed. It's how many people have left. My parents, gone. My siblings, gone. My closest friends from childhood, from college, from my working years, gone. And the woman I thought would be holding my hand until my last breath, she's been gone for 6 years now. When you reach this age, you become invisible in a world that belongs to the young. You watch them rushing through life, stressing over things that, from where I'm standing, look like grains of sand slipping through their fingers. They'll stop sometimes and ask me, "What's it like to be your age?" Or they'll look at me with pity, as if being the last one standing is some kind of tragedy. But here's something they don't know. Here's a secret about being 78 that nobody tells you until you arrive here yourself. When everything gets stripped away, when everyone has left the stage, what remains isn't just emptiness, it's truth. Raw, undeniable truth. If you're younger than me, I want you to listen closely. If you're around my age, pull up a chair and sit with me for a while. Today, I want to tell you about the things that don't disappear. The things that stay when the house goes quiet and the phone stops ringing and the calendar has nothing written on it. This is what remains. The first thing I learned is this: we never really own anything or anyone. In my 40s and 50s, I believed my life was defined by what I had built. My career as an architect, my house with the white picket fence, my reputation in the community. I protected these things like they were permanent fixtures of my identity. I measured my worth by them. But now, at 78, when I look down at my hands, I see they're empty. And you know what? That's okay. I've watched the buildings I designed get torn down to make room for newer, sleeker structures. I've seen my professional legacy forgotten by people who weren't even born when I retired. That trophy gathering dust on my shelf, it doesn't define me. What remains is the character I built while reaching for that trophy, the discipline, the creativity, the resilience. I've also learned that the people we love are just on loan to us. We don't own our spouses. We don't own our children. We're simply caretakers of their time for a little while. And when you truly understand that, when you stop trying to hold on so tight and just experience them, the grief of their departure transforms. It stops feeling like something was stolen from you. It starts feeling like gratitude for the loan you were given. What remains is the love you gave, because that's the only thing that doesn't decay. That's the only thing that won't be sold at an estate sale or thrown away when they clean out your house. Let me tell you about a morning in 1989. My daughter, Sophie, was 7 years old. She had this stuffed rabbit she called Mr. Ears. That rabbit went everywhere with her, to school, to bed, to the grocery store, everywhere. One day we went to the beach. It was a perfect summer day. Sophie played in the sand, built castles, chased waves, and Mr. Ears sat on our blanket watching over everything. When we packed up to leave, Mr. Ears was gone. Sophie panicked. We searched that beach for 2 hours. We talked to lifeguards. We left our phone number with the lost and found, but Mr. Ears had vanished, probably swept out with the tide. Sophie cried for 3 days straight. She couldn't sweep, she wouldn't eat properly. It broke my heart watching her grieve over this stuffed animal. I thought about driving to every toy store in the state to find an identical rabbit. I wanted to fix it, to make the pain go away. But my wife, Margaret, stopped me. She said, let her feel this. Let her learn. So instead, I sat with Sophie on her bed. I held her while she cried, and I said something I didn't fully understand at the time. Sophie, Mr. Ears is gone, and that hurts. It's supposed to hurt. But here's what nobody can take from you. Every adventure you had with him, every story you told him, every time he made you feel safe, those are yours forever. She looked at me with those big, tearful eyes and said, but Daddy, I want him back. I said, I know, sweetheart, and you'll miss him for a long time. But one day you'll realize that Mr. Ears was special not because you had him, but because you loved him. And that love, that's still here. Today, Sophie is 42. She has her own children, and sometimes she calls me and says, Dad, I still think about Mr. Ears, and I finally understand what you meant. I don't try to hold on to my kids. I just love them while they're here. That's what remains. The lesson, the love, not the thing itself. When you're young, you wait for the big moments. The wedding, the promotion, the dream vacation, the award ceremony. You spend your whole life looking at the horizon, waiting for the next peak to climb. I've learned that life isn't made in those mountain peak moments. Life is made in the valley between them, in the ordinary, unremarkable, easily forgotten moments that you don't think to hold on to. If I could go back, I wouldn't seek more success. I wouldn't chase bigger achievements. I would seek more noticing. I would linger longer over a cup of coffee. I would watch the sunset with more intention. I would listen to my wife's laugh like it was a song I was hearing for the first time. What remains at the end of a long life isn't a collection of trophies or newspaper clippings. It's a collection of small, beautiful moments that turned out to be everything. There was a Tuesday morning in March of 1993. Nothing special about it, just a regular workday. I was rushing through breakfast, reviewing blueprints for a project. Big client meeting that afternoon. High stakes. My mind was already at the office. Margaret had made French toast. I was eating mechanically, not really tasting it, just fueling up. She was sitting across from me, drinking her tea, reading the newspaper. The sunlight was coming through the kitchen window, hitting her face just right. She looked beautiful, but I didn't notice. I was too busy. As I stood up to leave, she said, "Will you be late tonight?" "Probably," I said, not even looking at her. "This presentation needs to be perfect." She nodded. "Okay, be careful." I grabbed my briefcase and headed for the door. At the doorway, I paused. Something made me turn around. I don't know what. Maybe some angel tapped me on the shoulder. Margaret was still sitting there, sunlight in her hair, steam rising from our teacup. And for just a second, I really saw her. I saw the woman who chose me, the woman who built a life with me, the woman who made French toast on a Tuesday morning just because. I walked back to the table. I kissed her forehead. I said, "I love you." She looked surprised. "What was that for?" "No reason. Just wanted to say it." I have no memory of that client meeting. No idea if I even got that project. But I remember that moment. The sunlight, the teacup, the surprise on her face. Margaret died in 2019. And you know what haunts me? It's not the big things I didn't do. It's not the vacations we didn't take, or the anniversaries I messed up. It's all the other Tuesday mornings when I didn't turn around, when I didn't notice, when I rushed past the magic because I was too focused on what I thought was important. What remains is the regret of not seeing it sooner, but also the gratitude that I saw it at all. The small moments are everything. We just don't know it until they're gone. One of the hardest parts of watching everyone leave is the solitude that remains. My generation was taught to stay busy, stay productive, keep moving. We were never encouraged to sit with ourselves, to know ourselves, to befriend ourselves. But when the kids moved out and the friends passed away and the spouse was gone, I was left alone with a stranger, myself. Most people spend their entire lives running from themselves. They use noise, work, relationships, TV, anything to avoid being alone with their own thoughts. Because being alone with yourself means facing things, hard things, uncomfortable things. But at 78, you can't run anymore. Your body won't let you. Your energy is finite, so you sit. And in that sitting, if you're lucky, you discover something powerful. What remains is your internal fortress.
If you haven't built a relationship with yourself, old age will be terrifying. But if you have, it becomes a sanctuary. I've learned that I am enough. I've learned to forgive the man I was at 25, at 40, at 55. What remains is a quiet peace with the person in the mirror. You realize you were your own best friend all along. You just didn't know it. Let me tell you about the hardest year of my life. I was 28 years old, fresh out of grad school, newly married, full of ambition and arrogance. I thought I knew everything. My father, who had been a carpenter his whole life, offered to lend me money to start my architecture firm, but he had advice attached to it. Son, start small. Build slowly. Don't take on debt you can't handle. I smiled and nodded, but inside I dismissed him. What does a carpenter know about running a business in the modern world? This was 1975, not 1945. Things were different now.